Lena was not like other young women in her town. While many spent their time shopping or chatting at cafes, Lena spent her days covered in oil, grease, and dust. Her small garage by the harbor smelled of motor oil and gasoline, and the walls were lined with tools of every kind. She loved fixing engines, motors, and anything that moved. She could take something broken and, step by step, make it run as if it were new. Her friends often joked that she could repair a broken heart if it came with a manual. One sunny morning, Lena was sipping her tea and reading the newspaper. She always checked the classified section because sometimes strange opportunities appeared there. Her eyes stopped at an unusual advertisement, abandoned cruise ship for sale, cheap. Her heart skipped a beat. Lena had always dreamed of working on a big ship, a real challenge, something no one in her town could imagine. She read the small print carefully. The ship had been left alone for almost 10 years. Its last owners had gone bankrupt, and the government had decided to sell it for a very low price. Most people would have ignored this. The neighbors would say, "That ship is useless. You will waste your money." But Lena was different. She had an eye for potential. She saw past the rust, the broken windows, and the peeling paint. To her, this ship was a blank canvas. The next morning, Lena woke up at dawn. She packed her tools in her small van and drove to the old dock where the ship rested. As she approached, the ship loomed in front of her like a giant sleeping monster. Its sides were rusted, and some of the windows were broken. The deck was covered with leaves, bird feathers, and dirt. The smell of salt water mixed with dust filled the air. Seagulls flew above, circling and squawking loudly. Despite how abandoned it looked, Lena felt a rush of excitement. She stepped onto the main deck, feeling the wood creak under her boots. She ran her hands along the metal railings, imagining how they could shine again with polish. She peeked into the rooms one by one. The grand hall, which once might have hosted parties, was empty but majestic. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, coated in dust, but still beautiful. The dining area had tables stacked with old chairs, some broken, some intact. Lena imagined cleaning them, repainting them, and hosting her own small events on the ship. She went down to the engine room. This was her favorite part. The engines were enormous, covered in rust, and smelled strongly of oil and age. But Lena smiled. She could already see how she would take each piece apart, clean it, and make it work again. The thought of reviving such a giant made her heart race. The dock manager, an older man with a long beard and tired eyes, approached her. "You really want this ship?" he asked, his voice full of doubt. "It has been sitting here for years. Nobody touches it. It's not just old, it's dangerous. You might regret this." Lena looked at him calmly. "I don't care what others think. I see what this ship can become. This is not just a ship. It is a challenge. And I love challenges." The man shook his head, muttering something about young people being foolish. But Lena ignored him. She had made up her mind. Within a week, she signed the papers, paid a small price, and officially became the owner of the abandoned cruise ship. That evening, Lena returned alone to the ship. The sky was painted in orange and pink, and the sun's reflection on the water made the ship look golden in some places. She walked slowly across the deck, touching the walls, imagining the ship alive again. She could hear the distant sounds of the harbor, the water lapping against the docks, seagulls calling, and the soft whistle of the wind. For a moment, she closed her eyes and imagined the ship as it once was, full of passengers laughing and eating, music playing, people dancing under sparkling lights. She could almost feel the joy, the life, and the energy that the ship had held. But now, it was silent, still, waiting for someone brave enough to bring it back. Lena was that someone. She explored the ship carefully. The cabins on the upper floors were small but cozy. Most of the furniture was damaged, but Lena could see its past beauty. In some cabins, old photographs lay scattered on the floor. Faces smiled from yellowed pages, reminders of families who once sailed happily on this ship. Lena picked one up. A little girl was standing near the railing with her arms wide open, her hair flying in the wind. Lena smiled and put the photograph gently in her pocket. She promised herself that if she could fix this ship, the happiness of those people would be remembered. As the night came, Lena sat on the deck, looking at the stars. The moon reflected on the water, creating a path of silver leading to the horizon. She felt small but determined. She knew it would not be easy to fix the ship. Many nights would be long, and many days would be tiring. But for the first time in her life, she felt a deep sense of purpose. She wasn't just fixing machines anymore. She was bringing life back to something that had been forgotten. Little did Lena know, the ship held more than just memories. Something valuable was hidden inside, waiting for the right person to find it. And the moment she discovered it, her life would change forever. But for now, all she could do was dream, plan, and prepare. She felt the excitement building inside her like a fire, ready to burn brightly with her determination. Lena knew this was the beginning of a great adventure. She had bought an abandoned cruise ship, and although it looked empty and broken, she could see a future filled with possibilities. With her tools, her skills, and her courage, she would face every challenge this ship presented. And perhaps, somewhere inside its walls, a secret waited to be revealed that could be worth far more than money. For now, she packed up her small bag, turned off the lights, and left the ship for the night. The stars shone above, the water glistened, and the abandoned cruise ship rested quietly, waiting for its new owner to awaken its hidden treasures. Lena walked back to her small van, smiling with hope and excitement. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The next morning, Lena woke up early, full of energy. She drank her tea quickly and packed her tools. Today was the day she would start exploring the ship properly. She wanted to know everything about it, its rooms, engines, hallways, and secret corners. She had a notebook in her bag, and she planned to write down every detail. When she arrived at the dock, the sun was rising, making the water sparkle like diamonds. The cruise ship looked even bigger in the daylight. Lena felt a shiver of excitement. She climbed the gangway carefully and stepped onto the deck. The wooden boards creaked under her feet, but she did not mind. She knew every sound of the ship would be familiar soon. Her first stop was the engine room. Lena loved machines, and this was her favorite part of the ship. The engines were enormous, and some parts were covered with rust. She carefully examined the machinery, writing notes about what needed fixing. Some pipes were broken, and the valves were stiff, but Lena already imagined how she would repair them. She cleaned the floor a little and used her flashlight to see the darkest corners. She found old oil cans, some tools left behind by workers long ago, and a small notebook with handwritten numbers. Lena carefully put the notebook in her bag. She did not know what it was yet, but it felt important. After spending a few hours in the engine room, Lena moved to the passenger cabins. Each cabin had a small bed, a desk, and a tiny bathroom. Most of them were dusty and dirty, but Lena could see their potential. She opened drawers and closets, finding old clothes, letters, and photographs. One photo showed a family of 4 smiling on the deck of the ship. Lena smiled. She could imagine restoring these rooms so families could once again feel the joy this ship once gave. As she walked through the corridors, Lena noticed a strange door at the end of one hallway. It was smaller than the others and painted a dark green color. The paint was cracked, and it looked as if nobody had touched it for years. Curiosity filled her mind. She tried the handle, but it was locked. Lena examined the door closely. There was a small keyhole, and something about it felt important. She decided to write it down in her notebook. "Find key to green door," she wrote. Lena had a feeling that this door might lead to something special. Next, she explored the dining hall. The room was large, with tables and chairs scattered around. Dust covered the silverware and plates left behind. Lena imagined cleaning everything, polishing the silver, and arranging the tables beautifully. She thought about hosting small gatherings or dinner parties here one day. The chandeliers hanging from the ceiling were covered in cobwebs, but they still looked elegant. Lena touched one of the crystals and smiled. She could see the light sparkling again if she cleaned it carefully. After lunch, Lena went to the upper deck. From there, She could see the entire harbor and the city beyond. She leaned on the railing and breathed in the fresh sea air. The harbor was busy with small boats moving back and forth, but the cruise ship stood silent and proud, waiting for new life. Lena felt a strong connection to it. She whispered, "Don't worry. I will make you shine again." While exploring the upper deck, Lena found a small storage room. Inside, there were crates of old supplies, some rusty, some broken, but others in good condition. She found life jackets, ropes, and tools that might still work. As she moved one crate, she noticed a wooden chest hidden in the corner. It was locked, but the lock looked old and fragile. Lena's heart beat faster. She could feel that this chest was different from anything she had seen on the ship. She wrote, "Investigate wooden chest," in her notebook. Something told her that this ship was holding more than just memories. Later, Lena went to the captain's quarters. The room was larger than the passenger cabins and had a big desk, a chair, and shelves with old books. Dust covered the furniture, and the curtains were torn, but the room had a sense of authority and history. Lena carefully opened the drawers of the desk. Inside, she found old maps, logs, and letters from the captain to the crew. Some maps showed the route the ship had taken years ago. Others had marks and notes that seemed mysterious. Lena felt a thrill. She could spend days studying these maps. Maybe they would lead to hidden places or forgotten treasures. As Lena explored, she found a spiral staircase leading to a lower level of the ship. It was dark and smelled strongly of the sea and old wood. She switched on her flashlight and stepped carefully. At the bottom, she discovered a long hallway with many small rooms. Most of them were storage spaces, but one room had something unusual. A small metal box was partially hidden under a pile of old ropes. Lena opened it carefully. Inside, she found old coins and jewelry, small but clearly valuable. Lena's eyes widened. She did not expect to find anything like this so soon. She carefully took a few pieces and put them in her bag for safekeeping. She made a note in her notebook, "Check for more hidden valuables." By late afternoon, Lena felt tired but excited. She had explored most of the ship and had already found hints that it was hiding something special. Every corner seemed to hold a secret, waiting for someone brave enough to find it. She could feel that this was not just an abandoned ship. It was a puzzle, a challenge, and an adventure all in one. Before leaving for the day, Lena went back to the green door. She had not forgotten it. She tried again to open it, but it was still locked. She examined the surrounding walls and noticed a small metal plate with faint letters. It was hard to read, but she thought it said, "Authorized access only." Lena smiled. She was determined to find the key. Somehow, she knew that opening this door would lead to something incredible. As the sun set, Lena sat on the deck, watching the sky turn pink and orange. The sea reflected the colors beautifully, and the ship seemed peaceful. Lena felt a deep connection to it. She whispered, "Tomorrow, I will find more secrets. I will unlock everything this ship is hiding." She packed her tools and notebook carefully and left the ship for the night. Her mind was full of plans and possibilities. The cruise ship was no longer just an abandoned structure. To Lena, it was alive, full of stories, memories, and hidden treasures. She could feel the excitement growing inside her. Tonight, Lena would dream about the ship, the mysterious green door, the hidden chest, and the coins she had found. She knew that the adventure was just beginning. Something incredible was waiting for her, and she was ready to discover it. The next morning, Lena arrived at the dock even before the sun had fully risen. The air was cool and fresh, filled with the smell of the sea. She carried her backpack, her tools, and her notebook, ready for another full day of exploring. Today, she felt, would be different. The green door, the hidden chest, and the coins she had discovered yesterday filled her mind. She could sense that the real secrets of the ship were waiting for her. Lena began her day in the engine room. She wanted to make sure the ship was safe before exploring deeper into unknown areas. The engines, though covered in rust, seemed stable. She checked the machinery carefully, noting the parts she would need to repair first. As she cleaned some of the old oil from the pipes, her mind wandered to the metal box she had found the day before. The coins and small jewelry were valuable, but she had a feeling there was much more hidden somewhere on the ship. After inspecting the engines, Lena decided to focus on the green door. She studied it closely, trying to find any clue about how to open it. She touched the old metal handle and traced her fingers over the cracks in the paint. That was when she noticed something she had missed yesterday. A small scratch on the floorboard near the door looked like it had once held a key. Lena knelt down and ran her fingers along the scratch. It was faint, but it seemed to match the size of an old, thin key. Her curiosity grew stronger. She searched the nearby rooms, moving crates, old furniture, and dusty boxes. Hours passed, and Lena almost began to lose hope. Then, behind a pile of old life jackets in a small storage room, she found a tiny, rusted key. Her heart raced. Could this be the key to the green door? She carefully wiped the rust off and held it in her hand, imagining what she might find behind the door. Lena returned to the green door, hands trembling slightly with excitement. She inserted the key into the lock. It was a tight fit, and it took all her strength to turn it. With a loud click, the door slowly swung open. Lena held her breath as she stepped inside. The room was dark and smelled of salt and old wood, but she could see shelves along the walls. There were old crates, some wooden, some metal, stacked carefully. She moved her flashlight across the room. One crate in particular caught her attention. It was larger than the others and sealed with a strong metal lock. Lena knelt down and inspected it. The lock was old, but unlike the key for the door, she didn't have the key for this one. She decided to leave it for now and continue exploring the room. On another shelf, Lena found several old ledgers and documents. She opened one carefully. The pages were yellowed, but she could read the handwriting. The logbooks seemed to belong to the ship's captain. There were lists of supplies, crew records, and passenger names. As she flipped through, a folded piece of paper fell out. Lena unfolded it and saw a rough map of the ship, with several areas marked with small XS. Her eyes widened. Could these marks indicate hidden items or rooms? She carefully placed the map in her notebook and made a drawing of it. Excited, Lena decided to investigate one of the marked areas. According to the map, one X was near the dining hall. She hurried there and began checking behind the panels and under the tables. It took a long time, but finally, she found a small trapdoor in the floor. It was hidden perfectly under a carpet that had faded with age. She pushed it open and peered inside. The trapdoor led to a narrow tunnel below the ship. Lena's pulse quickened. She knew this tunnel had not been discovered in years. It smelled of damp wood and salt, but she could see the walls were strong. She climbed down carefully, flashlight in hand. The tunnel was long and narrow, twisting in ways that made it hard to see the end. Her heart beat faster, but she felt a thrill she had never felt before. She was uncovering parts of the ship that no one had touched for decades. Finally, the tunnel opened into a small hidden room. Lena gasped. It was larger than she expected, and inside were several locked chests. The metal shone faintly under her flashlight, and she could see engravings on some of them. There were old coins scattered on the floor, as if someone had tried to move the chests and dropped a few. Lena knelt down, careful not to touch anything she didn't understand. She realized she needed to find a way to open these chests. One chest in particular had an intricate lock, unlike anything she had seen before. Lena studied it carefully, turning it over in her hands. She could see numbers engraved on it, and a small note was pinned to the side with a rusty nail. The note was faded but readable. It said, "Only the one who understands the ship can open me." Lena smiled. She liked puzzles. She believed the note meant she had to understand the history and structure of the ship to unlock the chest. Perhaps the map she had found, or the logbooks, contained the answer. She carefully placed the note in her notebook and began making observations about the chests, noting numbers, symbols, and shapes. Hours passed, and Lena almost lost track of time. She realized the ship was more than just abandoned. It was filled with secret passages, hidden rooms, and treasures left behind. The more she explored, the more she felt a connection to it. It was as if the ship itself was guiding her, waiting for her to discover its secrets. She decided to return to the upper deck to rest and think. Sitting by the railing, Lena looked out at the sea. The sunlight danced on the water, and she could hear the soft waves lapping against the hull. She held the small coins she had found the day before in her hand. They were valuable, but she could feel that the real treasure was something much greater. She had a strong feeling that it was hidden deep within the ship, waiting for her to find it. That evening, Lena wrote down everything she had discovered in her notebook. She made a plan for the next day: investigate the other excess on the captain's map, examine the chests carefully, and try to find clues about the larger treasure hidden on the ship. Her mind buzzed with excitement. The adventure had grown bigger than she had imagined. Before leaving, Lena took one last look at the hidden room and the chests inside it. She whispered, "Tomorrow, I will find the secrets you are keeping. I will unlock everything." The ship seemed to respond with a creak of its old wood, as if agreeing with her determination. As she walked back to her van, Lena felt a sense of purpose and excitement she had never experienced before. She knew that each day on the ship would bring new discoveries, and each discovery would bring her closer to understanding its history and uncovering its hidden treasure. She smiled, knowing that the adventure had only just begun. The next morning, Lena arrived at the dock with a strong sense of purpose. The sky was clear, the air smelled of salt, and the harbor was slowly waking up with the sounds of small fishing boats and gulls flying above. Lena carried her notebook, her flashlight, and her tools. Today, she decided, she would focus on solving the puzzle of the chests and the map she had discovered. She climbed the gangway carefully and stepped onto the deck. The ship creaked under her weight, but Lena was used to the sounds by now. She walked directly to the hidden room she had found yesterday. The wooden chests sat quietly in the corner, as if waiting for her return. She ran her fingers across the surface of the largest chest, noticing the engravings and faded symbols. She had studied them for hours yesterday and was beginning to understand a pattern. Lena opened her notebook and spread out the captain's map, the logbooks, and the small notes she had collected. She compared the marks on the map with the locations she had explored on the ship. Slowly, a picture began to form. Each X on the map was a clue, a guide to a secret hidden within the ship. One mark led to the hidden room, another to the green door, and others pointed to areas she had not yet investigated. Lena felt a thrill of excitement. She was uncovering a treasure hunt that had been left unfinished for decades. She decided to focus first on the chest with the intricate lock. The numbers engraved on it seemed random, but she remembered the note pinned to its side. "Only the one who understands the ship can open me." Lena carefully studied the numbers and symbols. She compared them with the map and the logs. Slowly, a pattern became clear. The numbers corresponded to the order in which the XS appeared on the map. Lena's heart raced. This was a puzzle, and she was beginning to solve it. Following the sequence, Lena checked the locations on the map once again. She noted down the order carefully in her notebook and returned to the chest. She turned the numbers on the lock slowly, one by one. With the last turn, she heard a soft click. The lock opened. Lena's hands trembled with excitement. She lifted the heavy lid of the chest and gasped. Inside, there were stacks of old papers, gold coins, and jewelry. The coins were ancient but still shining. The jewelry was carefully wrapped in cloth and looked valuable. Lena carefully took out the papers first. They were letters, old receipts, and documents from the ship's past owners. One letter, in particular, caught her attention. It was addressed to the captain and written in careful handwriting. The letter described a hidden treasure, gold and jewels, stored in secret compartments throughout the ship. The treasure had been meant for safekeeping during a long voyage but was forgotten when the ship was abandoned. Lena's eyes widened. She had found the first clue to a fortune hidden inside the abandoned ship. She examined the other items in the chest. The coins and jewelry were valuable, but Lena realized they were only part of the treasure. According to the letter, The real fortune was hidden in special compartments, known only to the captain. The chest had given her the first pieces of the puzzle, but she still needed to find the other compartments. Lena felt a surge of excitement. This was bigger than anything she had imagined. After carefully securing the chest, Lena decided to investigate the other excess on the map. One marked location was near the captain's quarters. She hurried there and began checking the walls, floors, and furniture. Her flashlight illuminated small details that had been overlooked for years. Behind a loose panel on the wall, she found a hidden drawer. Inside were more coins, a small gemstone, and another note from the captain. The note said, "Follow the path of light to find the next key." Lena smiled. She had no idea what it meant yet, but she knew it was a clue. She continued her search throughout the day. The ship seemed alive to her, each creak and groan guiding her to hidden spaces. In the dining hall, under a loose floorboard, she found another small chest with more gold coins and papers. In the engine room, behind a pipe, she discovered a metal box containing documents about the ship's cargo and routes. Each discovery brought her closer to understanding the full story of the abandoned cruise ship. Lena paused for a moment on the upper deck, taking in the view of the harbor. The sun was high, and the light reflected on the water like a million tiny stars. She held the map in her hands and traced the path of the excess. She realized that the treasure was spread across different levels of the ship. To find the complete fortune, she would need to explore every corner, follow every clue, and solve every puzzle left by the captain. As the afternoon turned into evening, Lena returned to the hidden room with the chests. She carefully examined the largest chest again, looking for any more clues. Suddenly, she noticed a small engraving on the inside of the lid. It was almost invisible, but under the light of her flashlight, she could read it. It was a riddle. Where the water meets the wood, and the sunlight touches first, the key to gold waits for the brave. Lena's eyes sparkled. She understood that the captain had hidden the key to the main treasure in a place connected to both water and sunlight. She immediately thought of the upper deck near the railing, where sunlight hit first in the morning. Her mind raced with possibilities. She would have to explore carefully, look for hidden compartments, and use all her skills as a mechanic and problem solver. Determined, Lena planned her search for the next day. She wrote in her notebook, "Check the upper deck at sunrise, follow clues from map, inspect all loose panels, hidden drawers, and any unusual markings." She packed her tools and secured the chests she had already found. Her excitement was mixed with a little fear. The treasure was huge, and the puzzles were complex, but Lena loved every challenge. Before leaving the ship, she sat quietly on the deck, watching the sunset. The ship looked majestic in the golden light, and Lena felt a deep connection to it. She whispered, "Tomorrow, I will find the key. I will uncover the full treasure. I will honor the history of this ship." The ship seemed to creak softly, as if acknowledging her promise. That night, Lena could hardly sleep. She kept imagining the hidden compartments, the keys, the gold, and the jewels. She felt a mix of excitement, curiosity, and determination. She had already discovered valuable coins and jewelry, but she knew the $75 million treasure described in the captain's letters was still hidden. Every clue, every chest, and every note brought her closer. She also thought about the people who had sailed on this ship years ago. Families, travelers, and crew members had all been part of its story. Now, Lena was part of the ship's story too. She was the one chosen to uncover its secrets, bring the treasure to light, and restore its history. The responsibility thrilled her as much as the idea of wealth. As Lena finally drifted to sleep, she dreamed of the ship shining like new, with sunlight reflecting on its polished decks, treasures hidden safely in secret compartments, and her own name written in its history. She knew that tomorrow would bring more adventure, more discoveries, and more excitement. She could feel that the ship was alive, and it was guiding her step by step toward the greatest treasure she had ever imagined. The next morning, Lena arrived at the dock even before the sun rose. She could feel the crisp sea air on her face, and the quiet calm of the harbor made her heart race with anticipation. Today, she decided, she would follow the last clue and uncover the ship's greatest treasure. She carried her notebook, flashlight, and tools, ready for a day full of discovery. Climbing the gangway, Lena felt a thrill of excitement. The cruise ship looked majestic in the early sunlight, with golden rays reflecting off its weathered metal. She walked directly to the upper deck, remembering the riddle she had discovered the previous day. Where the water meets the wood, and the sunlight touches first, the key to gold waits for the brave. Lena studied the deck carefully, noticing every detail: the railings, the floorboards, and the small cracks between the wooden panels. She searched for anything unusual, something that might hide the key to the treasure. After several minutes of careful inspection, Lena noticed a small wooden panel near the railing that looked slightly different from the others. The grain of the wood was slightly misaligned, and there was a faint metal hinge at one edge. Her heart pounded. Could this be it? She used her small tools to carefully pry the panel open. Hidden inside was a small metal box, surprisingly well preserved. It had an intricate lock, much like the one she had opened in the hidden room. Lena examined the box carefully. She remembered the captain's logbooks, the letters, and the map. She compared the markings on the box with her notes. Slowly, she understood the combination. She turned the numbers on the lock, and with a soft click, the box opened. Inside were 3 small keys, each labeled with a letter: A, B, and C. Lena smiled. She realized that these keys must unlock the final compartments where the treasure was hidden. With careful steps, Lena returned to the hidden room with the chests. She examined the 3 large chests she had discovered before. Using the first key, she unlocked the largest chest. It creaked open, revealing gold bars stacked neatly, glittering in the light of her flashlight. Her eyes widened in amazement. This was far more than she had expected. She carefully counted the bars and noted them in her notebook. Next, she used the second key on the medium-sized chest. It opened to reveal piles of rare gemstones, sparkling in every color imaginable. Diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires were arranged in old velvet boxes, untouched for decades. Lena's heart raced as she carefully examined each gem. She could feel their incredible value and imagine the fortune that this ship had hidden for so long. Finally, she approached the smallest chest with the third key. Inside, she found more gold coins, jewelry, and documents. The papers described the origins of the treasure, which had been collected over years by the captain and his crew for safekeeping. There were receipts, letters, and maps showing where the treasure had come from and how it had been protected. Lena realized that the total value of everything she had found easily amounted to $75 million. She could hardly believe it. Despite the wealth before her, Lena felt something even more important. The ship was no longer abandoned. She had uncovered its history, solved its puzzles, and restored its story. Every room she had explored, every chest she had opened, and every clue she had followed connected her deeply to the ship. She felt proud and accomplished. This was not just a treasure of money, it was a treasure of history, memories, and adventure. After securing the chests carefully, Lena decided to explore the ship once more. She wanted to make sure she had found everything and to admire the ship she had restored in her mind. She walked through the passenger cabins, imagining how they would look once cleaned and repaired. She saw the dining hall, the chandeliers sparkling in her imagination, and the upper deck, where sunlight touched the polished wood. The ship seemed alive to her, filled with stories and secrets she had uncovered. As she walked through the captain's quarters, Lena noticed the old desk where she had found the first maps and letters. She opened the drawers carefully and placed the logbooks and papers she had discovered inside. She knew these documents were as valuable as the treasure itself because they told the story of the ship and its crew. She carefully organized them, making sure they would be preserved for the future. Lena spent the rest of the day planning how to restore the ship. She imagined painting the walls, polishing the metal, repairing the engines, and preparing it for sailing once again. She thought about inviting the town to see the ship and share its story. The abandoned cruise ship, once forgotten and empty, would now shine again, not just as a vessel but as a symbol of history, courage, and discovery. By evening, Lena sat quietly on the upper deck, watching the sun set over the harbor. The sky was painted in shades of pink, orange, and gold. The water reflected the colors beautifully, and the ship stood silently, proud and majestic. Lena held a small gold coin in her hand, remembering the journey she had taken. She had started with curiosity and skill, exploring an abandoned ship, and now she had uncovered a treasure beyond her wildest dreams. As she watched the sunset, Lena realized something important. The treasure was valuable, yes, but the adventure, the discovery, and the connection she felt to the ship were priceless. She had learned to trust her instincts, to follow her curiosity, and to solve every puzzle with patience and determination. The ship had rewarded her not only with wealth, but with a sense of accomplishment and a story she would tell for the rest of her life. That night, Lena carefully secured the chests in a safe part of the ship. She placed the coins, gold bars, gemstones, and documents in neat stacks. She locked the doors and walked to the upper deck one last time. The stars reflected on the water, creating a path of silver leading to the horizon. She whispered to the ship, "Thank you for trusting me with your secrets. I promise to honor your story." Lena returned to her small van and drove home, her mind filled with plans and dreams. She knew that restoring the ship would take months, but she was ready. She had the treasure, the knowledge, and the determination. She had solved the mystery of the abandoned cruise ship and uncovered a fortune worth $75 million. More importantly, she had discovered courage, skill, and a sense of purpose she had never known before. In the weeks that followed, Lena began restoring the ship. She cleaned every room, repaired the engines, polished the decks, and preserved the treasures she had found. The town watched in amazement as the abandoned cruise ship came back to life. Lena became a local hero, not just for the treasure but for her courage, skill, and determination. Finally, after months of hard work, the ship was ready to sail once more. Lena invited the town to see it, and children, families, and friends walked through the restored rooms, marveling at the beauty and history. The chandeliers sparkled, the floors shone, and the treasures were displayed safely for everyone to see. The cruise ship, once abandoned and forgotten, had become a symbol of adventure, discovery, and courage. Lena stood on the upper deck, the wind blowing through her hair, the harbor stretching before her. She smiled, knowing that her life had changed forever. She had started as a young mechanic with curiosity and skill, and now she was the guardian of a treasure, a restored ship, and a story that would be remembered for generations. The abandoned cruise ship had finally found its new captain, its new purpose, and its new life. Lena had not only discovered the $75 million treasure hidden inside, but she had also discovered something even more valuable: the joy of adventure, the thrill of discovery, and the satisfaction of following one's dreams to the very end.